Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Uneven podcast. We love to talk shop, uncover the beauty of failures, and play a few games. Today, we have with us the founder and CEO of FullCircle, Ananya Jain. Ananya has been an entrepreneur since a young age and has received multiple awards for her work. So far, from the President of India, Dr. Kalam, the Swiss government, and also the Princess Diana Award from the royal family of the UK. Have we missed anything noteworthy from your journey so far?
Of course you have. There's 50 other awards you missed. I'm joking. This is amazing. Please keep going. This was like good for my ego. Keep it coming. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, so now to get started, let's play a quick little game to learn more about full circles.
Cool. So Twitter is known for its 280 character limit on every tweet, which sometimes makes it a little difficult to convey your thoughts. It
Mm-hmm.
takes about 20 seconds to speak 280 characters. So we're going to transfer this challenge to you, which is to explain to us full circle in 20 seconds. But it's not that easy. You also need to use one emoji and one hashtag in your tweet. I feel like from the research I've done, you've already got your Twitter pitch ready to go because this it's the same that's on LinkedIn on your website. But anyway, we'll go ahead with it. You have 20 seconds, and your timer starts now.
Full Circle is trying to solve the mental health and loneliness problem for immigrants in the Gen Z generation. Um, the emoji I would use is a hug emoji because that's the vibe at Full Circle, and the hashtag I would use is feeling heard and hashtag hugs.
Cool. See,
Okay.
I knew it. You killed it. Absolutely killed it. Amazing.
Wait, was that under 20 seconds? I don't know, but it was what it is.
Yeah, yeah, well below 20 seconds.
Okay, great.
Amazing. So, to get started, and like before we get into full circle, you've been an entrepreneur since a very young age, and while you were even living back in India. So, what was the inspiration like behind your first business and just being an entrepreneur at such a young age?
Uh, I think I kind of just fell into it. My parents are both in business. My mom and my father started a jewelry business, and I my first pitch ever was when my sister was born. They were trying to design the cards that people send out when you announce that you have a new child at home, and my parents were looking for a designer at the time, and my mom came to me and said, pitch us an idea for business and you get to design the card and we'll pay you. The payment was in chocolate, which is fine, but that was my very, very first entry into whatever entrepreneurship. And then I think I forgot all about it. And then after that, I kind of got this opportunity where I saw a bunch of people applying for this competition, Ignite, in India. And the competition was to meet the president of India at the time. So the people who won this competition, this science competition, would get to meet the president. So I kind of just applied because my parents at the time were going through a really tough time at home because they weren't really getting along. So I was looking for ways to get out of the house. And so I thought, if I apply for this competition and if I get in, I'd get a vacation away from home, away from the both of them. So because they were fighting at home. So I, submitted an application on how to make biofertilizer from cockroach poop. And I never thought anyone would ever read it. But the president of India ended up liking it. Long story short, he flew me out to go meet him in Gujarat, I think at the time at IIM Ahmedabad. Um, I took my parents with me. Unfortunately, they fought all the way there and all the way back, so it was not really a
Oh
vacation.
no.
But in that brief moment, I think that was the actual start of the journey to get things going. So I think that was the very first beginning. Did I answer your question?
Yes, no, fair enough. I think when you were a child, in terms of if your like parents came up to you being like pitch it and things like that, I think it like you're surrounded by business people as well,
Yeah.
and I think that also plays a large influence on like how I guess the entire trajectory of your like business career has gone so far. You mentioned that like yeah, your parents fought a lot, and I think you've been quite vocal about like having a somewhat difficult a childhood online as well. How
Mm-hmm.
has that like impacted your entire journey so far? Like I know you said that it was a way of running away, but is that the reason that you've continued to go in this like space and also like start something in the mental health space?
I don't think it's the reason I'm continuing to do what I'm doing, but I do think it was a driving factor to go to the US. I think I applied to US universities, specifically the ones I attended, very last minute, because I always thought I would go to IIT or AIMS. I did both pre med and med in India. I think for a lot of people who know about the IITs and AIMS, I don't know if your audience knows, but I applied. I studied for both those exams simultaneously. And then, it struck me that if I stayed in India, I would still be close or near my family because they were in India. And so I kind of really applied to the US universities last minute and never expected to get in, but I did. And at 17 or 18, I said, I got in and I said goodbye, see you never, and I moved. But I think I was really young, dumb, stupid, and naive when I moved to the US, that I thought everything was going to be a piece of cake. It was really not, which I think I've talked about quite a bit. Losing my hair at 19, going bald at 19 was definitely not a cakewalk. Um, but I think once you sit down and you process everything that you've been through, at some point you have got to stop looking back and start looking forward instead. And I think for me, I've come to the understanding after working on myself that, parents at the end of the day are humans. um, I'm also human. I make a ton of mistakes, and they did the best that they could with the information that they had, and so did I. So for me, um, my parents are back at home, and I am here, and I think it's time to stop looking backwards and move forward. So not anymore, I think, but of course, your early childhood shapes so much of who you are, and my parents were also extremely encouraging of all kinds of things. My mom sent me to the US, and she was extremely encouraging throughout. Um, so I think people do the best that they can with the information they have at hand.
So, not what what's very striking to me is one, just how candid you are about your journey, but
Mm-hmm.
having okay, so the fact that you did an engineering degree, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that you're trying something in the mental health space, but
Mm-hmm.
how do you position yourself in a manner in which you have the ability to help people that need the help? Because it's an engineering degree. It's not a psychology or any other med degree that would position you there directly. So how do
Right.
you kind of go about that?
Yeah, Anuj, if I'm being honest, I really did not want to touch the mental health space. I think for the first couple
Okay.
of months, when I was thinking about, I think Full Circle, by the way, started out as a turbine company in my freshman year. We were trying to sell turbines. I wanted nothing to do with mental health. But then I lost all my hair at 19 years old. I was completely bald. I didn't know what was going wrong with me. Therapy didn't at the time end up solving my problem because it was way too expensive. And it was a reluctant kind of being pushed into it as an engineer, as opposed to like, I'm an engineer, so I should solve the mental health problem. It was definitely not that. um, and I think even today I have doubts about, am I doing enough, am I doing the right thing? And I think those doubts are natural when you care a lot. So I think that's the first thing. I did not want to start in the mental health space or the loneliness space. The second thing is, I think as an engineer, you are destined to think about things differently, because when you're thinking about things and when you've been educated traditionally in a field, you already have context to thinking about problems and solutions a specific way. I came from none of that background, so I was thinking, what is the most radical innovative thing that we can do to actually solve the problem, as opposed to an incremental solution to the problem and solutions that already existed. So for me, I think my engineering background kind of serves as a strength, and my co-founder is also an engineer. You know, because we come from a completely different perspective of things. And I think to your third point, what are you solving, or how do you position yourself? I say it extremely candidly. Full Circle is mental health for Gen Z, and especially for immigrants who have come to the US. Because immigrants struggle with a whole host of different issues that maybe our American counterparts don't quite understand. Both of you are nodding, because I think you relate. Um,
Yeah, Janvi is one right now. I have been one for a long time. So yeah.
so then you guys understand this. I think when you go to an American university, they have a very different context. You have a very different context. You are here for a different reason. You know, you understand the financial constraints. You understand how far away you are from family. Sometimes the therapists that you come across don't quite understand that struggle if they're American. Sometimes the solutions out there, like therapy and counseling, have wait times that are not built for you. Immigrants have visa issues that not a lot of people understand. So, Full Circle is built for Gen Z, it is built for immigrants by immigrants, and so positioning happens that way. But I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And I can see that it's built for Gen Z, right? Just that all the Gen
Yeah.
Z speak on your website. Um, which which to me, even though I think I am Gen Z, is a little it's still not, the language that I use in my daily life. But I find
Yeah.
that, I think it is quite an interesting position, like the entire vibe of it, because most often mental health is spoken about very seriously, and I
Yeah.
think the slightly playful aspect that's there on the website is it makes it slightly more lighthearted, which makes it, and the fact that you as a founder have been so vocal about it makes it, people feel like, okay, I can speak about this more easily. But in terms of building something for Gen Z, I think, for
Mm-hmm.
example, right, if you take another, let's say any other tech product, for example, assume a payment gateway. Now, you
Right.
might launch a product and, there can be a beta testing and alpha testing, all of those things. You can get feedback from your crowd, build a feedback loop and all of those things. But when it comes to mental health, right, that's tough because there's no room for error here. So how do you kind of go about that process?
I think there's two things. The first one is we are built for loneliness and mental health, right? We are not built for serious mental health issues. We actively discourage people from using Full Circle if they have something that requires more medical attention. So we actively tell people, please stay away from Full Circle if you have a serious mental health problem because we just don't have the resources to solve that right now. That's point one. The second point is I think we are tackling more loneliness issues as opposed to core mental health serious issues, which is a distinction I really like to make. Um, and the third thing, it's a really great point because it's really hard to get feedback from people and there's little room for error. And I think we faced that early on. Um, the one thing I will say is there is room for error if you build with authenticity, which is also why I'm so candid about my journey. I think all our users so far, we have made a ton of mistakes. I'll be honest with you. We've made mistakes where sometimes things glitch, sometimes they're like, this is the information we gave you, we got a different output. And so mistakes have happened, but I think because I'm extremely honest with the team and with the people that we are serving, it creates that ground where there's inbuilt trust in the platform. And I think when you initially start a startup, your first set of users are supposed to be die-hard fans because they've seen your journey, which is also why I started posting on LinkedIn because people have seen my journey moving from Atlanta to California, living on a mattress too. And so when you see the founders of a company go through the struggles and own up to their mistakes, I think when you try and hide your mistakes is when problems start happening. Whereas if you just say, you know what, look, we made a mistake, here's what we're doing to fix it, here are the things that we can help you out on right now, I think that creates trust. And people don't really penalize you as much as you think they would. So that's been a surprising insight for me. I will say though, we don't take that trust lightly. We don't want to make mistakes, which is also why a lot of the Silicon Valley speak of move fast and break things doesn't apply to Full Circle. We are not looking to move fast and break things, which is what I've said over and over again. We move slowly, deliberately, but we solve core issues. So we might take longer to reach point A to B, but we will not be hurting people in the process. And so that's something I say over and over again. It's a great question, though, Anuj.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you said how you share your journey and being authentic. I think the space that you're in, if like even when you ask people that use Full Circle to provide feedback, it's very vulnerable given that they're like talking
Mhm.
about their loneliness problems and their mental struggles or just struggles in general that they are going through about being either away from family or anything. It's quite personal. And as you mentioned that you've like spoken about your journey quite a bit, you even shared your number online so that like people could reach out to you and like talk to you. I think that was something that's really like different and incredible because not many people would just, I guess, share put their number online. And I think like the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you had like three phones that like ring.
Hey,
So
I don't recommend putting your phone number online. That was a, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I don't think going back I would do it again. Like even when we were talking, I've had like three missed calls come through. So yeah, I think at some point you
yeah.
have got to yeah. Anyway, but yeah, go on.
But yeah, no, like what was your journey? Like what got you to put that number online? You mentioned that you got bald at 19 as well, and I know that contributed to this entire thing. So how did you reach a point at that point where like it was getting so much that you were impacted, and that led you to do some like share your number and try to get people and find people that are going through something similar?
Yeah, I mean, wait times at counseling at the counseling center were 3 months. Um, Therapy was too expensive for me. I was an immigrant. I was trying to pay for groceries. I didn't have time to sit around and wait for 3 months to figure out why I was like losing all my hair. So I think it was out of desperation, mostly. And I think a lot of innovation comes out of desperation. When you've kind
Yeah.
of hit a brick wall, you see nothing else, you feel quite alone. That's when I think real innovation happens. And that's kind of how Full Circle started. I posted my phone number online because I saw a ton of kids struggling in my university and all around me. And I thought, you know what, if I am going to start doing something, I want to hear from more people about what they're going through and just have an authentic conversation. You'll be surprised the number of people who just called me up and still call me up to this day and are surprised that it's not a robot that's answering the phone. We've gotten so used to that. Um, so I think I just wanted to give people the space to talk authentically about what they were struggling with. Some people called me back and said that was the weirdest conversation they had had in their lives because they've told me things that they've probably not even told their best friends. Um, and I've kept in touch with the vast majority of people who call me up, which is incredible because my WhatsApp is filled and filled with messages. So I think um, two things happened from that. The first thing I realized is I was not alone, which is something that was a massively positive thing for me because I did feel all alone in what I was going through. And the second thing is, I think it made me realize that this was a problem that was not just my problem. It was a problem a lot of people were facing. And then the reluctant engineer dives into loneliness, trying to solve loneliness and mental health kind of came out. But it was a reluctant move. Yeah.
And in terms of like people calling you, what were like the common reasons people were like calling and sharing about? Was there like themes to it?
Yeah, I think the biggest theme was people wanted to feel heard. I think a lot of times when they called me up, it was also at the peak of COVID. So people started calling me up saying they were extremely lonely and they just wanted to talk about nothing. Some people told me about their favorite like slippers. I remember this distinct conversation where we had a 30-minute conversation about someone's favorite slippers and they just wanted to talk to someone else who would just get it. I mean, I'm not a slipper expert, but I did listen quite a bit. Um, Other people talked about how they were really struggling with managing how much they were eating. So when COVID happened, because people were really lonely, people were not eating together, and so people ended up eating a lot more when they were sitting alone. A lot of people called about that. A lot of people also called about my problem, which was me losing all my hair, which is also how I found a solution to my problem because someone called me up and said, that could be XYZ, and maybe use coconut oil and go take vitamin D and B12. And it changed my life because then I have hair now. So, I think people called for a variety of reasons, but I think the biggest thing I realized is people were not feeling heard. Um, People were lonely and not all of them wanted solutions. I have never personally recommended any solution to anyone who's called me up. I have never given advice to people. I have only just heard what they've said and repeated it back to them, which sounds like the strangest thing. It's like I didn't give advice, I didn't give a solution, and they still said that they felt much better talking to me. That can only point to one thing, that people are lonely and people don't feel heard. So that was my experience with thousands of phone calls from all over the world.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly what positions you to carry full circle forward, right? Like you get it. That's pretty much all it takes, right? And I'm not saying that to like diminish a degree of in psychology or something, but
Right.
there are times when you just get something, and I love the fact that you get the core of this problem. But so then, what is your dream for full circle? Like, where do you want to see it go?
No. See, my co-founder, if he was sitting here on this call, he would be like, Ananya, this is the time where you need to shut up and just give him the small, short-term vision as opposed to saying, I want to solve mental health and loneliness for the entire generation and the entire world. But he's not here. So I want to solve mental health and loneliness for the whole world. And I want people to have the right social support system to tackle any problem that they have in life. Anuj, here's the difference between someone who has the right social support and someone who doesn't. Anuj, let's say something really bad happens in your life, or you do something really embarrassing, or you make a mistake, and someone comes and tells you, you know what, that was a stupid thing to do, but I will stand by you till you figure it out, and we can figure it out together. That's one. And then the other person who's like all alone trying to figure out things on their own, and their friends come and tell them, my god, you're so stupid, like you shouldn't have made that mistake, that makes you a bad person. Those are two completely different cases. One person will end up flourishing long term because he just has the right social support system. The other one may end up in a really bad place. And so I think for us, we just want to give people the right support to live their life to the fullest, because a lot of good things can happen when you give people, when you come together and support each other. So he's not here, so I'm going to solve the loneliness and mental health problem of the world. Thank you, Ankit, for not being on this call.
But I think what you just said about the right social support system, because I know personally I've seen both sides of it, like for extended periods of time. Like I had a period of my life where I've not had the right support system, and then a period of my life where I have.
Yeah.
But I feel like in that in the first part when I didn't have the right social support system, to a certain extent, it was like a self-imposed thing, where I kept myself within that space, and you kind of, to a certain extent, keep yourself lonely. Like you don't actively try to break out of it when you are lonely. And I think, yeah, it was just a thought that came to me when you mentioned the two sides to it. But yeah, so tell me this, what is I won't call it worst disagreement, but let's say the largest clash that you and Ankit have had in full circle so far.
Oh my god, we have a clash every single day, Anuj. I mean, Ankit and I think when two people are incredibly passionate about the same thing is when you have clashes. And Ankit and I fight about everything and anything under the sun. I think he's like my brother, and I often say this, we are the same soul in two different bodies, and I really believe that because Ankit and I, we might fight, we might like want to kill each other, we might want to stab each other, but at the end of the day, we're going to stick together and build this company. And I think it's like we call it the forced non-divorce clause. Like he could want to kill me, I could want to kill him, but we both know we're both not going anywhere. And I think that's a very unique thing for co-founders to have, because a lot of times the reason startup fail is not because of a lack of money, not because of a lack of product market fit. It is because co-founders end up fighting. And I think we can fight and fight and fight, but there's a non-divorce agreement. He just cannot go anywhere. I just know, because I think I talk to his mom more than he talks to his own mom, and he talks to my mom more than I talk to my mom. So it's that kind of relationship. But I think our biggest fight, if I think back to it, has been when he went on a 3 day sort of like break without like telling me he was going to go. And sometimes when he tells me that I'm going on a break, I'm like, yeah, yeah, whatever. And then when he actually goes on the break, I'm like, oh, you'd go. For example, he's on a break today, and he told me a week ago. And he said, this time I'm telling you 3 days in advance. And then he told me yesterday. And then he called me up in the morning today and said, I will not be there today. I hope you know that. I said, okay. But I think the biggest fights have been when he takes off and he's like, I'm going. Like, dude, there's enough work to do, please. Yeah, that's the biggest fight we've had.
Fair enough. And yeah, no, I definitely agree with you in terms of like startups. I think the dynamic you have with your co-founder is really important
Mm-hmm.
for the success of any kind of business, just because like that's the person that you spend like the most amount of time building something, and there is gonna be disagreements, but like you said, y'all can fight and get back to building something together, and I think that's like the most important thing
Yeah.
to come back from that fight, because like fights are inevitable. I think disagreements are going to be inevitable while like growing something.
I
But given
feel
that
like
like
you
both of y'all are
should
engineers,
like, give me the inside scoop. What is your biggest fight with Anuj been so far, Janvi?
oh, both of us,
Yeah.
similar to you, like we do disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have many disagreements.
Good. That's a good sign. So
But
how do you solve your disagreements?
I think one of us usually just takes the L. Like it's not a very like there's no like like climactic outcome. It's just like one of us is just like, "हाँ ठीक है, fine, we'll do it this way."
Mm.
yeah, like yeah, someone has to like I guess cave in. But I
Mm.
think like if like I'm being honest, like throughout our journey, even we had to like navigate that, because
Yeah.
I mean like Anuj and I were friends before we did anything together. And I
Right.
think that also adds like a sense of like strain, because you don't want it to impact like your friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think initially, at least for me, it was very difficult to like say that
Yeah.
I'm not agreeing with you. Because I'll be like, no, 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 this is gonna then like cause a fight, and then we're gonna like have a disagreement, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna work out. So like I had to also train myself to be like, okay, fine, like they're two separate things, and both of us are mature enough to think like that. And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not agreeing with something that we're doing, either for the podcast, and we also had like a startup that we did before this, like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not liking something, I need to voice it so that we can work to fix that. But I don't
Mm.
know. I think Anuj was pretty straightforward. I don't know whether he overthought it as much as I did. Did you?
Not really. I think I've always believed that both of us have enough trust in each other that even if one of us is to take the L, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. It's still for a great idea. Like, if there's two ideas, both are great. So it doesn't matter which one goes forward. That's just the way I've always thought about it. And but yeah, I think sorry, Janvi, I think you had asked another. You were asking another question.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I was just yeah, I was saying that it's I guess just to like close this in the sense that yeah, like the ideas of like say, like both the ideas can be good and stuff like that, but I think another thing that we do just in terms of like working around disagreements is we like put the pros and cons of both the ideas. Like we'll also
Yeah.
say that okay, fine, like these are the good things about mine. Like why are we fighting so hard for this
Mm-hmm.
direction, and then like that helps us also solve it, because like if we know one is more passionate about their stance than the other, then I'll be like okay fine Anuj, you can take this one, and then we can look at another one later. But um in terms of like just co-founders, I was gonna ask that both of y'all are from like engineering backgrounds and now starting something in like the business world. How has that journey been to navigate like just business overall coming from a science background?
You
Oh,
know,
hasn't made no difference. That's also like a valid
yeah, I think
response.
my family always had a business background, and I think Ankit's family has also been rather entrepreneurial. Um, Also, I mean, I can talk about my family, but Ankit specifically, the one thing that Ankit did during his time at IIT was he built India's and Asia's first successful Hyperloop team and took it all the way to Elon Musk in Los Angeles. So, I mean, you guys know what the Hyperloop is, right? Yeah, so he built literally India's first successful Hyperloop pod. He shipped parts from China and from all over the world because India didn't have those parts at the time. Got it all together, did it at a record low budget, competed with teams like, I think there are European teams that take entire semesters off in Europe and are sponsored by massive companies to compete in the Hyperloop competition. But he did it in a record low budget, took it all the way to Los Angeles, put all the parts together in Los Angeles, because shipment was a massive thing. Shipping a Hyperloop pod from India to the US was a massive problem. And so I think he had it in his genes, or at least that's what it's demonstrated again and again in my time working with him. And I think for me, my family comes from a jewelry background. My father and mother started the business from scratch. They used to go to Delhi and source raw materials and jewelry from the weirdest of places and come back to Chandigarh and sell it. And I've seen that journey, both of them sleeping on sofas in their jewelry shop initially, all the way to their very meteoritic rise to the top. And so I think there was that background. Engineering, I, I kind of think I fell into it because I loved math and science in school. But I think at the core, both Ankit and I have that businessy background coming from our families and our childhoods that we kind of brought into it. So I think for traditional engineering majors, it is really hard because they are hardwired to solve fancy tech problems. Whereas for Ankit and me, it has always been about people. It has always been, we don't want to build anything till we know that there is a demand for it or we create the demand for it, which is very much a business mindset. So for us, I don't think it was that
Yeah.
hard a transition. But I think for other engineers, I think it can be because it's a very different way of living life.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how like involved in business y'all were like since your childhood. Both of y'all have done like incredible things like throughout, even like before like going to university and things like that, which is amazing. But like so yeah, then was like business always something that you wanted to do? Like was actually like being a software engineer or a tech engineer at a company ever a dream or a option? Not really.
I don't think it was a dream, and I don't think it was the reason that like I don't want a boss because I believe that is a flawed argument because my boss right now are my customers. They're like ship this product feature, and I'm like yes sir, I will ship it. So the part about not having a boss is I don't think a valid argument, but I think the reason Ankit and I were really drawn to business is because you get significantly higher returns on the amount of time and energy you put into business as opposed to trying to climb a very linear path, right? When you're employed, you go from one level L1 to L2 to L3 and you climb the ranks. Whereas I think Ankit and I are slightly impatient and with our careers at least, and we want to exponentially like go up. And so for us, I think learning was a massive thing. We wanted to learn really quickly, produce outcomes really fast, and so I think that was the driving force as opposed to being like we want to be our own bosses. I don't think that was the driving. Did I answer your question though?
Yeah, no, yeah. I was just like interested to know, like a lot of people when they're like at university, me included, like you have like a path that you think that you want to take versus what actually happens. So like I was just curious to see like whether that was something that you always thought was gonna happen, or was that something that you were working towards, or was it like a massive shift?
Yeah, I don't think it was a
But
massive shift.
yeah, no, fair enough. And I think that's you're one of the lucky ones, I guess, because like a lot of people do have like that crazy journey where they have to try and figure out what they actually want and how they're gonna get there.
Right.
But you've also like gotten a lot of recognition throughout like your career. How does like that make you feel? Like, do you like actually um like, do you get numb to it? Like, does it make a difference, like all the accolades, or is that something that actually pushes you?
Um, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question before. It's a great question. Do I get numb to it? Um, I think I have come to the realization, and I think that was always the realization from the beginning, that happiness is derived from my um, personal life, and meaning is also derived from my professional life. In a lot of ways, it provides me a sense of purpose. It's always nice getting recognized. But to me, my main source of happiness is a really fulfilling personal life right now. I have a fantastic relationship with my sister. My mom is coming in 10 days to the US. She's going to be here for a month, God help me. So, um, I think happiness comes from my personal life. I think I won't want to say I've achieved so much, but when you kind of have worked towards something and you've achieved kind of what you had set out to achieve, you kind of look from the top of the hill that you've just climbed, and you kind of look around and you're like, it was worth it. But I think at the end of the day, what gives you a sense of happiness is the people you climbed it with, which is a very cliched way of haha whatever. But I think climbing it with my co-founder, our hardships together, the people I met along the way, and the happy memories that have kind of the happy and really hard things that have happened along the way are kind of what brings you happiness, a sense of purpose. But it's always nice getting recognized. But it's not something I like live for. Like I'm like, oh my god, what is the next award I'm going to get? No, I think there's a lot of benefit in trying to solve actual problems for our users and our. I hate the word users because it makes me feel like people are using tobacco, but for a lack of a better word, providing real value um, to full circlers and people who come to full circle with a problem and we end up solving it is better than an award. Um, Again, very cliched, but always nice getting recognized, but always a better feeling knowing that we've changed someone's life through full circle.
Yeah, I think I definitely get what you mean. Like your passion, your vision, your journey is all about your full circlers, right? So the award is a nice little bonus on the way, but like always moving closer towards your vision, that's where the real pleasure is, right? Like I get what you mean. So, okay, speaking about your journey and your path, Ananya, let's play two lies, one truth.
Okay.
Very simple game. The idea is that you give us three statements from your journey so far. It could be, challenges, accomplishments, a combination of either. But one of them will be the truth, and the other two will be false statements. And then we're going to be guessing which is the truth.
um, you guys give me tough games, yeah. I'm not supposed to be using my brain so early on in the morning. Okay. Um, I love cats. I love Ankit, and I love the color green.
Oh, wait, it's two lies and one truth, right? Yeah,
I
because
just
then
feel
you
like
love
Ankit.
Ankit.
You
Yeah, you
you were
love
the one that
Ankit.
suggested it. Now you're like, oh, yes.
No, 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 I'm saying it's so easy then. That you made it too easy.
Oh, come on, it's not easy. Guess it. What's the lie?
I'm assuming it's that you love Ankit.
No,
That's the
it's that
truth,
I love.
right?
No, that is the truth. I love Ankit. He drives me nuts, but I yeah.
But there's a but.
But the lie is that
Is there a but coming?
yeah, the lie is that I hate cats. I mean, I
No,
love
no,
cats. Yeah,
it's two lies, one truth.
two lies, one truth. I love cats and I love Ankit are the two lies, and the truth is I love green.
Oh, oh God.
That's what I thought. I was like, there's no way she's gonna say that she loves her co-founder on a podcast.
I don't. Even on a
That's
good
too
day,
much
I kind of
affection.
still hate him. He puts so much shit on my plate. It's
I
been a
just thought
break.
that how could anyone love the color green?
I love the color green. Everything in my life is green. Broccoli is green. My pajamas are green. I have a green duck t-shirt. My phone is green. Everything. Mm.
Fair enough. But yeah, we have another game for you.
Oh, we
It's
have another
called
game.
Red
Let's do it
Flags.
again. Come on, yeah. Okay.
We're gonna give you three situations, and in each situation, there are two good, like great points and green flags, and one red flag. So we've adapted these situations to full circle, and then you have to choose which situation you would rather be in. So I'll
Okay.
list the situations for you, and then yeah, you can decide. So situation one, full circle helps 10,000 individuals around the globe every year. You're listed on the Forbes 30 under 30 list, but full circle only becomes profitable after 15 years. Situation two, there are over 1 million messages exchanged as part of Full Circle community. Full Circle is the go-to place for any individual struggling with stress and anxiety.
Hmm.
But Full Circle needs to start charging their users a significant amount to make it profitable.
Okay.
Situation three, Full Circle raises $15 million. Full Circle is now a team of 50 people, but all the messages on the Full Circle app have been leaked. So
Oh.
these are your three situations.
You see now, Janvi, you've got me on record. My investors are going to kill me if I pick situation one. My users are going to kill me if I pick situation two. All the messages. Oh my god, I might kill myself if I have situation three. Uh,
See, these are supposed to be tough situations. So which one would you rather be? Hopefully none of this ever happens, but
please no. It's the go-to place for individuals struggling with okay. Let's just start charging users. See, I would pick situation two because here's the caveat. I can give people the money to pay for full circle, and then I would still be charging the significant amount. Listen, I will never charge people.
that's a bad loophole.
Come on now,
No.
Andy. You created the game. You should have thought about the loophole. I pick situation two. I win this game. There we go.
Oh my God. Paying for your customer. That's not, that's a self-inflicted.
It's fine.
Dami, just
Okay, fine.
remember
We
next
can
time
give
we
it to
have an
you.
engineer on the podcast, we won't do red flags. We'll do some other game.
You guys brought this
Done.
upon you.
We
Cool. Okay,
truly
so
did. But
I
no, we
mean,
do this just to like also understand like the thought process, like behind like choosing a particular situation, like what would you prioritize and things like that. So that's generally interesting to know.
I mean, I would always prioritize people that are using it because, in all honesty, I started Full Circle to solve something for people like me. I would never want to do something that would directly be at odds with that. So I think with investors, my investors are incredibly supportive. They would understand if I pick situation one, they wouldn't be happy about it, but it's okay. Um, but I think your customers, your users are the most important things in any business. So for me, I would, yeah. I mean, if I can take phone calls from people at
Fair.
3 a.m., we can find a way to give them the money to pay for full.
interestingly
Sounds good.
enough, more often than not, what we've seen with like, because everyone that's on the podcast is a very passionate founder, is that they're not um, overly swayed or concerned with the green flags. It's usually the red flags that are the decider. Like, people are happy if if the great points or the green flags are not as great, but if the red flag is like they can deal with it, they're like, okay, that's fine by me. So that's generally the trend we've seen, which is which is the kind of insight we like to get to with that game.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
guys
So
make
let's,
like great games, yeah.
sorry?
You guys had good games. I
Ah,
enjoyed
thank you.
this. I
We've
didn't.
got one last game.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We've
I
got one
beat you
last
on
game.
it.
So this one is a very simple one. We didn't
Okay.
invent this game, unfortunately, but it's a rapid fire, so very straightforward, 3 second, 2 word answers kind of vibe.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, let's kick off. To start off, how many all-nighters did you pull in your first year of Full Circle?
See, I don't like pulling all-nighters. Zero.
Interesting. What's the
Okay.
scrappiest thing that you've done to build your business?
During our first fundraise, I was working a minimum wage job. I would fundraise, I would take meetings with investors in the morning, and I would work a minimum wage job, carrying buckets of literal shit in a lab. So my morning time was for meeting with investors was 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. I would work that job.
Wow. Did you ever question whether it was worth it?
No, never.
What's the weirdest place from where you have worked?
um, I had to take a Zoom call like this, and I was running late from the airport. I think it was the Montana airport. I don't know what the hell I was doing in Montana at the time. I don't even remember. And people were like running past me for the for their flights, and I sat down, plomped down, opened up the laptop, and I did that Zoom call sitting at the corner of the Montana airport, praying the Wi-Fi would work, and my charger, I had like 10% charging on my laptop at the time, and I was like, my God, if I can survive this, it'll be a. That's the weirdest place I've done a phone call.
What was your emotion when you met the President of India?
This is a weird story. I was wearing a blazer that was not mine. So if you look at that photo, I have a my school blazer is a stolen blazer because I didn't have a blazer at the time. So I had told my best friend her name was Anna. My God, Anna was a lifesaver. I was like, Anna, I'm planning to wear my school uniform to meet the President of India, and I don't have a blazer. Because I was a rebel in high school, I only had the sweater. You were supposed to technically buy I'm giving you way too much. Anyway, Anna is like really tall, okay? She's like 6 foot something. So she gave me this blazer. It's like drooping over my shoulders. So the only thing I was thinking about the entire time is how stupid I looked. That's it.
Gosh, reaction after your first call when someone called you after you shared your number online.
Massive gratitude. Because I think the first phone call I ever got was from someone who was really struggling at the time. And I thought, when I was struggling all alone, I thought I was the only one who was going quite crazy. And I thought I was losing my mind. And I think that phone call kind of completely changed my life because I thought, my God, this is a bigger problem.
Yep. What is your best oh crap moment?
My best oh crap moment?
Like best oh shit moment. Like the moment that made you go in a good way.
Um, Messaging Ankit on the very first time we met, I had the way Ankit and I met was on LinkedIn, and I had messaged him on LinkedIn, and I met him the very first time, and I immediately knew this was going to be my co-founder for the next many years. So that was the best ocean moment.
And what about the
He
worst one?
That's
he
sweet.
ignored me for the longest time. He's like, I don't have time for you. I messaged him on LinkedIn. He's like, let's talk. And I was like, dude. And then we did end up talking, and then I knew. But yeah,
What is the worst oh shit moment?
I've had quite a few. What can I say? My worst oh shit moment is we launched our website and it crashed because I think we launched it 2 months before I appeared on the cover of Forbes, and it crashed. And we were trying to make people sign up because Forbes was going to be a massive thing for us. Like my face over there was supposed to be there for a reason. Like I was like, this is not for vanity's sake, right? Like I don't want to be on the cover of Forbes for like vanity. Like it's supposed to like work. So the website crashed. We didn't get as many sign ups as we had wanted, but it's fine. It's fine.
Do you think you'll ever retire?
I am retiring at 35, okay? Like, this is. Ankit can run full circle after that. At 35, I'm going to be on a sipping a mimosa. Ankit will be running day-to-day operations, and I am retiring. Um, I'm joking. I think it's like I've thought about this quite a bit, but I always want to be doing something that keeps my mind busy because I think it keeps your mind active. I think, for example, for me last year, I started eating a lot more because I suddenly had access to a lot of really great food where I was living. And it did not work out well for me. I put on quite a bit of weight. Not quite a bit, but I put on enough that I was becoming sluggish. And so I think same thing goes with the mind. When you give it too much space and not enough things to do, you kind of like slow your own brain down, which is not something I want to do. But as for retiring, I would happily let Ankit take over. No problem.
Would you choose books or podcasts?
It depends on the book or the podcast.
Do you prefer an iPad or a notebook?
None. Neither.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Definitely a morning person.
And finally, what's your favorite social media?
Haha, LinkedIn. It's
So
like the
that
most.
concludes.
Go on.
No. Finish your thought.
I mean, I'm running a company for Gen Z, and I love LinkedIn, so that should say quite a bit about me. But it's fine.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
fine.
single-handedly making LinkedIn Gen Z. So
I posted a photo of myself recently dancing or like jumping around. My hair's all crazy. You should look at that LinkedIn post. Yes, I'm making it more Gen Z. My God, the LinkedIn thing, the vibe on LinkedIn really needs to like become less stuffy. Anyway, yeah, you were saying.
so no, that concludes the rapid fire segment, bringing us almost to the end of our conversation. But before you go, we ask every single one of our guests to ask the next guest a question. So we'll
Oh.
first ask you your question from our previous guest, and then you can ask a question to our next
Have you
guest.
been watching Stephen Bartlett? Is this the Stephen Bartlett podcast thingy?
Oh, what? No. What? No. This is our what? No.
Never.
I see,
Who's
I see,
he?
I see. Okay,
But
yeah,
yes, credit where
yeah.
it's due. This is the idea. I mean, it's just such a great idea, right? Like no one knows who the next guest is, and
Excellent.
it's just yeah, kind of
To be fair, we do not have a diary and it's more video, so that is a differentiating factor.
Right, right, right. What a spin. Yes, I know, just the question.
okay. So your question is,
What are your top three songs to relax to?
Can look it up here. I mean, they change quite a bit. My first and I mean, this is going to like Om chanting at 432 hertz. Here. Can you see? Stop, okay, you guys. This is embarrassing. I don't want to be on this podcast. The second one is Smoke Signals. Can you see Smoke Signals by Gavin?
yeah,
That's my new favorite. And the last one is The World Is Mine. Sam Henshaw.
Okay.
interesting. Sorry,
Our
I
previous
think
guest wanted to know.
sorry, I was just gonna say while you were showing us your phone, I just peeked that law of the artist was your third. So do you like law?
Love talks a ton about mental health and loneliness. I love Love.
I love love.
His
Yes,
songs.
he's one
I
of my
mean,
favorite artists.
Yeah, he's a really good artist.
but I was gonna say that our previous guest also asked us to share the list of three, so I'm gonna now message him being like, at 400 and something hertz.
Please don't tell him my name. This is fucking cringy. But it's the only thing that calms me down, okay?
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. And I think like one closing thought that at least like I would like to share is that as a person, I'm very like closed off in the sense that it's not easy for me to like share what I'm doing and things like that. And I think it was a good reminder when you said that people like you need to surround yourself with a good support system, and if you open up, you're gonna be able to grow much more than if you isolate yourself from everything. And I think yeah, it's important to hear that once in a while. And thanks, I guess, for that reminder.
Yeah, no, Janvi, Anuj, I feel like we also became friends during this podcast. So that was a good thing for me also.
100%.
Yeah.
I've been, there's that little, you hold the nail and like hammer in and like try to break off a little bit. I've
Yeah.
been doing that to Janvi since like the last, I think, 6 years of our friendship, and I think I've gotten like just a little bit through.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad. I'm really glad we did this. I had fun with you guys. Can you please cut out the
Thank
old
you.
chanting bit from the podcast, please?
No, that was the best part.
So we
No.
we release we put out reels on Instagram as like teaser videos. I think for one of them I'll choose the audio as the Om chant.